The glitz and glamour of K-pop might dazzle millions of fans worldwide, but behind those perfect performances and stunning visuals lies one of the entertainment industry's most brutal training systems. What you see on stage is just the tip of the iceberg. Today, we're diving deep into the shocking truth about what really happens behind closed doors in K-pop training facilities. From slave contracts that trap teenagers in debt for decades to extreme dieting that pushes young bodies to the breaking point, the reality is far darker than anyone imagined. If you think you know how tough the K-pop industry is, think again. What we're about to reveal will completely change how you view your favorite idols and the system that created them. This isn't just about tough schedules or strict rules. This is about a system that has been compared to modern-day slavery, where dreams are sold but nightmares are delivered. It all starts so innocently. Thousands of teenagers line up at auditions, clutching onto dreams of stardom. They see their favorite idols living luxurious lives, performing on stage, and think that's their destiny too. But what these hopeful kids don't know is that they're walking straight into one of the most exploitative systems in the entertainment world. The moment you pass that audition, your life is no longer your own. Companies paint a picture of instant success, promising debut within months. But here's what they don't tell you at those auditions. The average training period is 7 years. 7 years of your life where you're trapped in a system designed to exploit every ounce of your potential while keeping you in financial bondage. Take the case of a trainee who was promised immediate debut but ended up with a debt of over $500,000 after 8 years of training. This isn't fiction. This is the reality that countless young people face when they sign those contracts. The company told him he would debut right away, but instead, he spent nearly a decade in training hell, accumulating debt that would take a lifetime to pay off. Here's where it gets absolutely terrifying. The moment you become a trainee, the debt clock starts ticking. Every meal you eat, every lesson you take, every piece of clothing they give you, even the tiny dorm room you share with 5 other people, it all gets added to your debt. Companies call it an investment in your future, but it's really a carefully designed trap. The numbers are staggering. Training costs, accommodation, food, lessons, styling, medical expenses, it all adds up faster than you can imagine. By the time trainees realize what's happening, they're often hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And here's the most twisted part. If you want to leave, you have to pay it all back immediately. Can't pay? You're stuck. That's why they call them slave contracts. The Federal Trade Commission of South Korea has had to step in multiple times, ordering major agencies like SM, FNC, and DSP to stop using dubious contract cancellation clauses. These companies were literally trapping people using morality clauses that were impossible to prove innocent of. Imagine being told you can't leave because you violated some vague moral standard, but you can't prove you didn't because the accusation itself is designed to be unprovable. Even after the government intervention, the debt system continues. Companies have just gotten smarter about hiding the exploitation. They use complex accounting methods that make it nearly impossible for trainees to understand how much they actually owe or how the debt is calculated. It's financial manipulation at its finest. But the financial abuse is just the beginning. The physical demands of the training system are designed to break people down and rebuild them as perfect performers. We're talking about 12 to 16-hour training days, 7 days a week, for years on end. Your body becomes a commodity that the company owns and controls. Weight restrictions are enforced with military precision. Companies have specific weight requirements for each trainee, and failure to meet them can mean getting kicked out of the program, but still owing all that debt. Trainees regularly pass out from dehydration and exhaustion trying to reach unrealistic weight goals. Some are forced to survive on ice cubes and water for weeks at a time. The psychological warfare is even worse. Trainers use deliberate humiliation tactics, public weigh-ins, and constant comparison between trainees to maintain control. They create an environment where trainees are competing against each other for the company's approval, breaking down friendships and support systems that might help someone escape. Many trainees develop severe eating disorders, depression, and anxiety during their training period. But seeking mental health treatment isn't just discouraged, it's often seen as a sign of weakness that could get you eliminated from the program. So, young people suffer in silence. One of the most insidious aspects of the training system is how it systematically isolates trainees from their support networks. Once you enter the program, your contact with family and friends becomes heavily monitored and restricted. Companies claim this is to help trainees focus on training, but it's really about preventing outside influence that might help someone realize they're being exploited. Trainees are often moved far from their hometowns and placed in company-controlled dorms with strict curfews and monitoring systems. Phone usage is limited and monitored. Social media is forbidden. Even when trainees are allowed to go home for holidays, they're often too exhausted or brainwashed to recognize what's happening to them. The companies create a bubble where the only reality that matters is the company's reality. Trainees start to believe that the abuse they're experiencing is normal, even necessary for success. They're told repeatedly that this suffering is what separates real idols from wannabes, creating a toxic culture where abuse is seen as a badge of honor. Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Most trainees give up their education for training. They drop out of school, abandon university plans, and dedicate their most formative years to the training system. If they don't debut, and most don't, they're left with massive debt, no education, and no real-world skills. The system specifically targets young people, often middle schoolers, because they're easier to manipulate and control. These kids are making life-altering decisions before they're even capable of understanding the consequences. By the time they realize what they've given up, it's often too late to go back to school or pursue other career paths. Companies promise to provide tutoring and educational support, but in reality, education takes a back seat to training. Trainees often receive substandard education that leaves them unprepared for life outside the entertainment industry. This creates even more dependency on the company, as leaving becomes not just financially impossible, but practically impossible. When we see successful idols, we assume they're proof that the system works. But what we don't see is the hundreds of trainees who never made it for every idol that debuts successfully. The companies make sure we only hear success stories, not the stories of broken dreams and ruined lives. Even successful idols often can't speak openly about their training experiences because of ongoing contractual obligations and fear of industry backlash. Many continue to owe money to their companies even after debuting, as the debt system doesn't end with debut. It just gets restructured. Some idols work for years after debut before they see any real profit from their success. The companies also use successful idols as recruitment tools, having them visit schools and auditions to inspire new trainees. These idols are contractually obligated to promote the positive aspects of their training experience, even if the reality was much darker. It's a carefully orchestrated PR campaign designed to keep the fresh supply of vulnerable young people coming. As K-pop's global influence grows, these exploitative training systems are being exported worldwide. Companies are setting up international training programs and partnerships, bringing the same abusive practices to young people in other countries who may have even fewer legal protections. International trainees face additional challenges, including visa restrictions that make it even harder to leave if they want to. They're often completely cut off from their home countries and support systems, making them even more vulnerable to exploitation. Language barriers also make it harder for them to understand their contracts or seek help. Recent collaborations between Korean companies and international broadcasters have started to romanticize the training system for Western audiences. Shows that follow Western trainees through the Korean training process present it as an exciting adventure rather than the exploitative system it really is. This normalization is incredibly dangerous, as it encourages more young people to see this abuse as acceptable. Behind every statistic about debt and exploitation is a real human being whose life has been fundamentally altered by this system. We're talking about teenagers who should be worried about homework and dating, instead spending their days in a system that treats them like products to be manufactured and sold. The mental health crisis among trainees and former trainees is severe and largely hidden. Depression, anxiety, eating disorders, and even suicide attempts are common among those who've been through the system. Many struggle with identity issues after spending their formative years being molded into someone else's vision of perfection. The next time you watch a K-pop performance, remember that what you're seeing isn't just talent and hard work. It's the result of a system that has broken countless dreams in pursuit of creating a few perfect ones. The real question is, are you okay with that? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let me know if you think the K-pop industry can change or if it's too broken to fix. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the reality behind your favorite entertainment industries. The truth might be uncomfortable, but it's the only way things will ever change.